Um, Good afternoon. I'm Simon Daniel, founder of Moixa. We're an English-based smart battery and software company aiming to manage the world's batteries, starting from home storage through electric vehicles to other forms of batteries in devices and the grid. We're going to share some of the learnings we have from our UK and Japanese markets for managing large fleets of residential storage and now EVs as part of a collective grid asset. Moixa, as a company, also makes smart batteries for houses as a sort of 5 kilowatt hour system. And that's taught us a lot about how to really optimize and manage the innards of batteries, such that other companies now trust us to use our software to manage their batteries. We make a grid share software package to optimize and manage groups of batteries, which enables us to aggregate large fleets of storage in homes and in cars as a grid scale asset. We've also had investment over a number of years from a number of Fortune 100 companies such as Itochu and Honda and TEPCO, as well as energy companies in the sector. We work across the value stream from system operators at the grid scale to network operators to technology integrators with a range of energy suppliers to where batteries go in housing and also other forms of batteries in communities such as EVs. We've done a lot of projects looking at how to manage groups of batteries for different kinds of value across the energy system. Within our smart battery company, we make a physical battery and sell it to customers either directly or through through channels such as utilities. And this classically just stores solar or acts as a night tariff to optimize the household energy characteristics, and can also work with an electric vehicle to optimize when an electric vehicle charges. The algorithms we use are very similar for managing a household battery and managing a domestic EV. The software really gives interfaces to the end customer. It gives runs on each battery to optimize how we charge a battery to various different characteristics: the weather, the tariff, the energy usage, the presence of an EV, and we create predictions to enable utilities to work out how much energy that household or EV is going to use the next day. And then by grouping lots of batteries together, we end up with a grid scale battery able to participate in various flexibility markets. And this enables partners using our software to improve the value they deliver to their proposition to customer, whether it's a battery company, an EV company, or a utility. We help improve the economics of their products, and then we can add to further economics by enabling that battery to be shared to the grid system. One of our clients is the conglomerate Itochu in Japan, who we started working with a year ago, and we localized our software for them so that their customers could optimize their battery. Japan is a very interesting market because for solar homes, there are 2.5 million homes. They're on a 10-year fixed export, a fixed feed-in tariff, and those have started to expire. So whereas before the 1st of November, these households had to optimize by selling all their solar to the grid, they now want to keep all their solar because so there's a really strong case for batteries. Earlier this week, we announced we have over 10,000 batteries in Japan using our grid share software. There's about 100 megawatt hours, increasing by about 10 megawatt hours a month. This is probably the largest fleet of residential batteries in the world managed as a collective grid asset, about 100 megawatt hours and growing. And what we do with this fleet is we manage each battery in real time for a daily characteristic based around its weather, its usage, its pattern of behavior. In Japan, people also like to keep batteries reasonably well backed up in the case of a power outage. Energy costs are quite high, interest rates are low, there's around 50,000 batteries sold this year. Japan is one of the largest markets for domestic batteries in the world, perhaps even bigger than Germany. And there's a strong case for this. The other aspect is Japan is an island, and therefore virtually all the electricity comes from assets within the island. And therefore, as that country moves towards renewable energy and moves away from nuclear, the role of batteries in managing the flexibility and the intermittency of renewables is very significant. We've leveraged a lot about our experience in the UK, which itself is an energy island. I think from the last talk, today we have 40 gigawatts of load in the UK, of which 2 gigawatts currently comes on interconnectors, less than 5%. And the UK is both physically as well as somewhat politically disconnected from our neighbours. And this means that we have to really manage our energy ecosystem very well. The interconnectors are really useful to manage intra-country flows, but a large group of batteries looks like a virtual interconnector. So what we're doing with our software is helping to group lots of fleets of assets together so they look and can perform like a virtual interconnector. And so they can get that access to the similar economics. And that means we can sort of help improve the end customer value by lowering the cost of these assets. We've also done projects on other islands where we've integrated EV and heat assets, and different assets may have different values depending on their own economics. Obviously, a battery is reliable every day of the year. An EV might not be connected. A heat asset might be seasonal dependence or depend on occupancy. Demand response depends on whether the behavior is available, someone changes behavior. So we've been developing a lot of optimization technology to really look at the challenge of how do you manage a large group of different assets in a home. And this project was on the Isle of Scilly, backed by European Union and also with partners such as Hitachi. And then we've taken our learnings to markets like Japan, which look at the UK and the UK regulation. And both these countries have to get this right, as effectively we have to manage, as an island without interconnects, the energy transition, the intermittency of renewables. So storage is a really critical way to do that. And so we've been looking at how to scale that up. And across the fleet of batteries we have in Japan, this is a profile from yesterday where we're typically shifting plus or minus 30 megawatts of power within this group of batteries and shaping it to the overall characteristics of the day. Now, up until the 1st of November, effectively solar was being maximally exported because effectively you get paid on metered export. And these batteries are night charged on low-cost nuclear, here at around 25 megawatts, is a slightly off-peak, and effectively it's low carbon in that context. And the batteries been used to reduce peak costs, and there's also low cost overnight. So this is really managing a large group on behalf of end customers, so they save money, but also with the utility, such that they can trade and buy energy on the wholesale market. And then it starts to look at managing local grid constraints. We could press a button and help the Shinjuku region of Tokyo with a current outage by moving these batteries. And in a similar way, we can act as a virtual interconnector between the neighboring states. So this is already a good example of a lot of data we're getting by managing a large fleet of batteries, which helps validate where our software is in scaling to manage this level of optimization in real time. And so this both demonstrates virtual power plants as well as optimizing large groups. We've recently started working with a Honda company who've asked us to be their smart charger partner for Europe. Now, Honda announced last month that their plan to electrify all their vehicles in Europe by 2025 was brought forward to 2022. So all the vehicles the Honda company makes will start to be electric over the next few years. And we're working with them as a smart charging partner to manage tens and hundreds of thousands of electric vehicles over the next few years as a collective battery. Because Moixa already has 10,000 batteries which are bidirectional, we already effectively have the largest fleet of V2G chargers in the world. They just happen to be fixed to the wall. The algorithms we use to manage those are very similar to the algorithms we use to optimize moving batteries, except we have to take account of where the batteries are and their state of charge required for the next day. But nevertheless, we know there's a lot of values to be achieved by managing batteries for the household, for the network and for the grid simultaneously with different opportunities. The opportunity of EVs is immense. Currently, the UK, for example, has nearly 225,000 vehicles, and this is around 8 gigawatt hours of batteries sitting in the UK EV fleet. This is projected to grow as we electrify in the UK to nearly 800 gigawatt hours. And so the UK and each nation state will nearly have a terawatt hour of batteries, which is available to be managed as a grid asset. This is very important because the value of those batteries is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. So by managing large groups of batteries, both for a household as well as a grid, they become part of the energy system. So by sharing batteries, they can earn a return and contribute to deferring costs on the grid. And this is part where some of the challenges on the prior presentation are addressed. There's a lot of batteries going into countries, either in homes, in cars, in mobility. And if you manage all of these as a collective resource, they look like interconnectors. They look like multiple pumped hydro plants. They're available and useful for the grid system. One of the challenges with technology is how to keep doing this. We already do it today. How do we ensure we keep doing this over the next decade? And that's by working with open standards frameworks, by working with different kinds of protocol to connect to different kinds of devices, either physically, through hubs, by software, through cloud, or other open standards in EVs and in energy storage. And so we're doing a lot of work at the moment integrating a range of third-party chargers of other battery companies. We're very keen to work with partners who have battery fleets. I saw the NL presentation earlier. That's a very interesting set of opportunities with them. The value which is delivered by managing batteries is really across the value system. There's a behind-the-meter value, obviously, to the household on a daily basis, 365, 24 hours a day. There's also what we call an at-the-meter value to the utility who's trading in time, who can use the predictions from the household to buy energy and trade energy well, and also offer improved offerings to households. And then there's a local-to-meter value for the networks. This is perhaps where some of the largest amount of savings can be made if by managing both EV charging and household batteries, we can defer the cost of upgrade, defer wires in the ground, and keep energy local. And then there's classical incomes available at front-of-meter, which compete against interconnectors and a grid-scale battery. Now, as the front-of-meter commoditizes, the value in our view shifts to the middle ground, to the utility trading and the local network, where by managing fleets using our software at the grid edge, we can participate in front-of-meter savings as a grid asset, but we can also manage the daily challenges of charging millions of vehicles at peak times, which otherwise cause billions of pounds of infrastructure cost. So to summarize in terms of the value across managing fleets, what we do with our grid share is we optimize the value for our energy storage partners, for the EV charger partners, for the households, such that the customers can get more out of their battery, and ultimately this lowers the cost of the battery. It's quite difficult today for a car company to make cars. They have to make electric cars. Most of the cost of an electric car is the battery. So electric vehicle car companies either have to be a battery company, like the Tesla company, or need to work closely with battery companies, like some of the German ones, or manage batteries well, using software from companies like Moixa. And that helps the economic return to make the car cheaper and more effective to the end user. And we also use our software to manage the group of batteries such that for the utility, they know when to buy and sell energy based around the predictions of how cars are charged. And then we can transact spare flexibility for the grid at the network level or the front of meter at the grid scale level. And so we continue to do a lot of work supported by partners to work with partners to help them get more economic returns out of their batteries. Indeed, our Tochu partner in Japan sold perhaps maybe $50 to $100 million more batteries this year. We're using our software. They've now grown from 10% to 20% of the market. And we're hoping to do the same with electric vehicle companies and other chargers to get more by managing the full stack value of flexibility using better and smarter technology. Thank you very much.